ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतङ्गमय। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। Let us offer our salutations to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all religions, the Supreme God Incarnate. Let us pray to Him to lead us from the unreal to the real, to lead us from the darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, to lead us from death to immortality. Today's topic: significant words. How words are tremendously powerful. The whole world is going on by the force of these words. Through words, one can uplift one's life if the words are used in a proper way. But the words also can be destructive if they are abused. How? By uttering harsh words, people get hurt and take revengeful steps. But then there are saints and sages, the great spiritual masters, who speak words which are uplifting, which open our hearts, which awaken us, which make us aware of our spiritual entity. We are not just this mortal frame which certainly dies out after some time. We are really not the mind, because mind degenerates after some time. So we are none of these external things. Then what are we really? So here, a very significant philosophical words are given to us by the spiritual masters. They say, you are pure and perfect in your true nature. You are the divine spirit. Your innate nature is divinity. So, You have to realize that truth, that you are divine. You are ever pure and ever perfect. Once you realize that truth, then you will have no more suffering. You will be enjoying eternal peace and tremendous joy. You will realize that the whole creation is just the manifestation of God Himself, causing disharmony, fighting and quarreling. They are all utterly meaningless, useless and worthless. People talk all sorts of things, hell, heaven, etc., not knowing what really hell means, what really heaven means. So, the spiritual masters, they speak words which are uplifting, which save our soul, which will remove all our depression, which will make our life meaningful and happy. Let us see some of the words which are given to us by the spiritual teachers. There was a very great Acharya, well known. Most of you have heard his name, Shankaracharya. 3 Acharyas, very, very great. How they give the message of spirituality to the people, how they make people understand the spirituality properly, and how they really love the humanity. That is the test of your realization. If you are a realized person, you must really love every being in this earth. Not only human beings, all the things, animate and inanimate, plants, animals, insects, everything. You love and love only. That's the test of your realization of the highest truth. Shankaracharya, who has dealt with this subject of who are you really, and in what way you are living your life on this earth, having taken human body, having all the senses and the mind and intellect shining, what kind of life you are living? In what way you are diverting your attention to things which are useless? How precious life you have got, but how without caring for that you are just abusing your opportunity, your facility. The body, mind, senses, intellect are given for achieving the higher purpose in life, not simply wasting your life in useless things. Shankaracharya, the great advocate of Advaita philosophy, God only exists, God only is real, everything else unreal. So you must know what is the meaning of reality and unreality. Real means it should be always be there. Unreal means it's constantly changing. A thing which constantly changes, you can't call it as real, though it apparently looks real. For example, the world, it looks real to you. We are seeing, we are moving, we are seeing the wind blows, the fire burns, the water is flowing, nature is functioning. So in a general concept we have got, world means like this. But if you observe carefully, you will understand that the whole creation is constantly changing every moment. A thing that changes every moment, you can't call it as real in the real sense of the term. That's what Shankaracharya means. So, suppose a person dies after 60 or 70 years, how can you call it real? So, what is that reality that lives on even though body dies? That's the point. You must hit upon that. I have to realize that truth which persists in spite of all other things. Though the body may die, the soul doesn't die. It's immortal. It takes another body, lives for some time, cast off, take another body, take another body. Like it goes on taking bodies after bodies in order to fulfill desires and desires, passing through lots of sufferings and experiences. So, Shankaracharya has composed a poem where he uses very significant words, tremendously important and tremendously significant. He says, in every stanza, he starts with, what next? What's the use? Of course, it is done in Sanskrit, but I just give you the English version. I don't go to the Sanskrit details, but it is very nice if you read the Sanskrit version. At the end of every verse, it is repeated. What next? What's the use? So in that poem, he is cautioning us. He is pointing out to us how we should utilize our life, how we should utilize our senses, mind and intellect, and how we should conduct our life on this earth. So, in the verses he goes on asking, well, you may be well educated, you may have very high sounding degrees, all the governments are very happy to recognize your qualification. What of it? What's the use? What next? Well, you get a very good job, getting high salary, and you are able to live a very comfortable life, luxurious. Are you satisfied? What's the use of all this? You may enjoy life with your beautiful companions, friends and relations. Yet, what of that? What next? They won't come to you eternally. Suppose you die, do you think that your friends, relations, all those will come with you? Nobody comes. You feed on the choicest of foods, and you feel tremendously happy to enjoy the food. What's the use? What next? What's the use again of ornamenting your body with decorations, nice ornaments, and decorating with silks and other clothes of charming colors? What's the use of having all these things if you have not realized your true self? If you have not realized who you are, then everything is just meaningless. You will be a miserable creature in spite of all these things if you don't have knowledge of the self. You make a big tour of all the places, countries, and beautiful towns. And you are able to take care of all your relations, providing them finances and so on. You do away with poverty. But are you satisfied? What next? What's the use? You may do a lot of charities. Are you satisfied? What's the use of such actions? You may get name, fame, power, position. You may be praised by people. In spite of all that, are you happy really? What next? So, how very significantly Shankaracharya points out the seriousness of the life and how we should use our precious time in trying to achieve the goal, namely realizing our true nature. Who am I? Once a man came to Sri Ramakrishna and said that after doing austerities for a number of years, he acquired a power by which he could walk over water. Sri Ramakrishna replied, "What are you talking about your austerity? You did austerity for so many years and acquired the power to walk over the water. But do you know its value? It is worth only 12 cents. Because by paying 12 cents, a person could cross the river by ferry, for which you have did austerities for many years." See, in that simple story, how Sri Ramakrishna points out the great significant truth. Now, always people debate this point. Who are really competent to realize Atman? Atman means the spirit, the indwelling spirit. Sometimes they feel they are not fit enough for Vedanta. And have heard many people even telling, "Swamiji, we aren't ready yet. Still we are young." That means implying that we should not even make them think about Vedanta. On the other hand, we should encourage them to enjoy the life. Anyway, it's not that you should not enjoy the life, that's not the point. The point is how you are dragged away by the external allurements, pleasures and things, and how you are just pulled down. You are not able to rise up at all in that process, and you will be going through all sorts of bitter experiences on the way. Well, for that question, whether they are fit enough for Vedanta, the answer is this. If you want to have knowledge, if you want to attain liberation, it is not difficult at all. See, in the beginning itself, it gives the idea it is very easy. Because when you think it is difficult, then probably you may not even think about Vedanta. But the teachers say it is not at all difficult. All that is needed is an inner change. Inner change. If you are capable of thinking, I am a man limited by circumstances, equally you are capable of thinking, I am the master of my circumstances. Anyone who thinks, I am not happy in this world, I am only having misery here, I want to have permanent peace and joy, he can have it if he has his intellect is properly sharpened, and if he is really sincere in the pursuit of knowledge, certainly he is competent to acquire the knowledge of the self. Then who are the people really not competent for the spiritual path or the spiritual knowledge? Here Upanishads say very clearly, the weaklings and cowards who have not enough courage and capacity to stand on their own feet and rely upon themselves, they are unfit to attain the realization of Atman. So, you must assert your faith in your own self. You must be confident of achieving the goal. There's a higher power in you. There's a divinity in you. You will not be betrayed if you depend on that. You must try to seek God. Give more serious attention to spiritual culture. Our spiritual culture teaches us that if the sole principle in man is taken care of, then all the other principles in him will automatically be perfected. It is like pouring water at the root. Then the water is carried to every part of the tree. On the other hand, if you water the branches, the tree is bound to dry up. Imparting spiritual wisdom is very essential. In neglecting this, but give attention only to secular values and education, you are nicely watering the branches, but unwittingly letting the tree dry up. What is religion? Religion must make you noble and perfect. If you are not a perfect man, take it that you are not religious. Believe in yourself. Believe in the divinity within you. Vedanta repeatedly tells you that you are not this body, you are not this mind. There is divinity within you, and that you are. Tat Tvamasi, that thou art. So, Vedanta tries to make a strong man of you. It tells you, go beyond fear. Go beyond raga dvesh, likes and dislikes. It aims at making man godly, which is his true nature. So have no more doubts as to whether you can have knowledge. You can have it and you can attain the supreme if you have courage and determination. Paurusha, that's what is said in Sanskrit. That alone can assist us in this. Paurusha, that courage, boldness, smartness, activeness, All these are combined in that quality of Paurush. It is not fighting so many people single-handed or amassing huge quantity of wealth by improper means. Paurusha means removing your ragadvesha, fear. If you are able to do that, if you are fighting to get rid of that likes and dislikes and fear, then that is called real Paurush. Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that he who is rid of attachment, fear and anger is called a man of wisdom. So get rid of fear. Fear arises only because of the feeling that the world is separate from you. The moment you recognize that you as well as the world are simply expressions of the same infinite reality, your fear will disappear. Take refuge in the ultimate reality, Atman, seated within yourself. Make a firm decision that I must attain that non-perishable Satchidananda, that ultimate reality. That's my goal in life. Any other thing is secondary. Determine that you will transcend your lower nature and impulses and realize the real self. See how powerful Shankaracharya has taught us through that verse, Tatakim, Tatakim, what next, what use? If you have not realized your Atman, your life has gone wasted. A great saint, Guru Nanak, said a very significant words. He said, Harinam and the wealth of love for humanity will go with you. They are very efficacious. If you have this divine name on your tongue, and if your heart is overflowing with love for humanity, then you will be definitely realizing God and you will be enjoying real happiness and bliss. Very significant words. Guru Nanak was preaching to the people to shed their ego and pride of wealth. He wanted to make them lead a pious life. So Nanak tried his best by way of teachings. Glitter of gold would blind their vision and they tend to become egoistic. The more a person becomes wealthy, the more egoistic he will be. They lose their sympathy and love for their fellow beings. Once on his way in Lahore, Guru Nanak met a banker. He had many flags flying over his house. Each flag representing wealth to the value of 10 millions. He had amassed a large wealth and was filled with the pride of richness. Guru Nanak called him and he gave him a needle to be kept with him. Then Guru Nanak said that he would receive it back from him in the next world after his death. The banker thought for some time and then said, Sir, what are you telling? How can I return it to you in the next world when after death everything will be left behind here only? At this Guru Nanak said, then of what use is all that you have accumulated with you here? The banker's eye opened and he asked the Guru as to what would go with him. And Guru Nanak replied, Harinam and the wealth of love for humanity will go with you. The uttering of divine name, God's name, and your love of humanity, they always come with you. The teaching was so powerful, coming from the spiritual master. The banker was enlightened and he became his disciple. See how significant these words are. So you must be alert in taking what is good for you and practice it. As you sow, so shall you reap. There's another very significant words. Extremely significant. Nobody can escape this law. As you sow, so shall you reap. There is a hymn in Atharva Veda. Paktaram pakvaha punaravishati. It tells, man eats what he bakes. That is, he reaps what he sows. I am quoting Atharva Veda. He who sows barley will not reap wheat. Not only this life, but also the next one is made of actions. Even hell and heaven are nothing but results of actions. What we call karma. Noble deeds make heaven, while ignoble ones make hell. So life is what we make by the dint of our own actions. If there are agonies and afflictions in one's life, it is because of one's own misdeeds. If there are joys and jubilees in one's life, it is an account of one's own noble deeds. Man has to lie on the bed which he himself makes. If a person is unhappy, he ought to blame neither circumstances nor destiny, but himself. In this life, he reaps what he sowed in previous one. Similarly, what he sows in this life, he will reap in the next one. Thus there is a link between previous life of man and his present and future ones. Providence is so perfect judge that he renders injustice to none and justice to all alike. His doctrine of karma, action and reaction, is so accurate and infallible that none escapes punishment for his vices and none is deprived of reward for his virtues, even in the slightest degree. There is a verse in Samaveda. I am taking ideas from the Vedas to impress upon you how these tremendous treasure the Vedas have given out the truth in glorifying terms, how it teaches everything. We should become aware of them. The Samveda tells, there is a passage which tells, O resplendent Lord, thou never ruinest thy devotee, who is philanthropist. Thou bestowest on him generously, O bounteous. Thy bounty is showered on him ever more and more. No person remains unpunished for the sins which he commits. In fact, none is enemy to another. One's greatest foes are one's own vices, which result in punishment decreed by God in accordance with natural doctrine of karma. Natural deeds, they are responsible for all the reactions. Unnatural deeds bring unnatural consequences. If man believes implicitly in omnipresence of Almighty as taught by the Vedas, he will surely restrain himself from committing sins because he knows that all his actions are being watched and witnessed by God, who being omnipresent always accompanies him wherever he goes. Again, I am taking a passage from another Veda, Atharva Veda. It tells, whoever stands or walks or moves secretly, lies down or mounts up, whatever two persons sitting together whisper to each other, all that is known by the Sovereign Lord, who is the third present there. This is a verse from the Psalm Veda, Atharva Veda. That means there is no secret place which is devoid of presence of Lord. Vedic theory of omnipresence of God accords solace to man that he is not alone. Wherever he goes, he is accompanied by Lord who protects him in weal or woe. But for the will of God, not a single leaf of tree can move from its place. Hence, no power on the earth can harm him without the will of God. Suppose a person commits theft. A question is asked. Should we say that it was God who made him commit it? If it is so, then God is thief, because God prompted me to steal. If a man commits murder, can we assert that God made him commit murder? Is God, who is the Lord of Lords, instigator or inspirer of thieves and murderers? Not at all. Man is so cunning and clever that he does not accept the blame upon himself. He gives lame excuses and attributes his wrong deeds to destiny or God. He goes to the extent of propounding new theories in the name of religion just to save his position. But nature's law is so rigid that none can escape the consequences of his deeds under any pretext. According to Vedic religion, man is free to do deeds. You have that freedom. None can encroach upon his liberty. Neither fate nor God interferes so far as freedom of man is in doing action is concerned. God has blessed him with conscience to distinguish between good and bad. Everyone, even the meanest sinner, has got conscience. It is conscience which tells him that this is ignoble deed. By the dint of conscience, he knows at once that the deed which he thinks of doing is bad. To say that sometimes man does not differentiate between wrong and right action is incorrect. Everyone does ignoble deeds secretly so that others may not watch and condemn him. It means he knows that the deed which he is doing is wrong. Everyone does noble deed openly so that others may see and appreciate him. It means he feels that the deed which he is doing is right. Thus it is crystal clear that God has bestowed on everyone enough common sense to realize what is wrong or right. He is given complete liberty to think, choose and do whatever he likes. There goes on internal conflict between conscience and mind in every one. Conscience advises man to do noble deed, while mind induces him to do ignoble deed. It is left to man whether he may let conscience conquer his mind or allow it to be conquered. God does not interfere. When a person chooses one's course, man enjoys absolute freedom in choosing the action. When once he chooses the course and does the deed, he is bound to bear the consequences, good or bad, as the case may be. Thus, before doing the deed, he is free. But after the deed is done, he is not free to avoid its fruit. So far as action is concerned, he is given complete liberty. As regards the consequences of action, he has no freedom. Thus it is crystal clear that God doesn't make man do the deed. It is man himself who decides the course of action. It is man himself who decides the course of action. God is supreme judge who decides about the fruit of man's action. There is a verse in the Atharva Veda which corroborates the infallible theory of karma. It says there is no flaw in this law of karma, no reservation. Actions performed in alliance with friends are not taken into account. It is exact and accurate regulation of actions and reactions. Man eats what he cooks, that is, he reaps what he sows. In worldly life, when a person settles his accounts with others, he takes into consideration both credit and debit and adjusts the same against each other. He returns what he borrows and takes back what he lends. But in matters of religion, he does not behave like a true trader. He claims only the reward of his virtues, but so far as the punishment of his sins is concerned, he begins to plead for forgiveness on one or other ground, for which he goes to the extent of changing even the fundamental laws of religion and fabricating new religious theories which suit his whims. It is the height of his hypocrisy and selfishness. Vedic religion is based on justice, reasoning and rationalism. Justice requires that man should give full accounts of his deeds done in life, and he ought to be rewarded for virtues and punished for vices. It is in the interest of man that he should accept the punishment for his sins without grumbling. Punishment of sins purifies man's mind of dirt and dross and cleans it so that it may imbibe spiritualism. Vedic laws are made for the betterment of mankind. So, what is very important is purification. Once the mind gets purified in a proper way, then really you will be able to walk fast in the spiritual way, and certainly you will have the spiritual knowledge and you will be able to realize your true self, and you will enjoy real peace and happiness. The Vedas also are very emphatic in making prayers, how everyone should offer prayers to God. It is very essential, and through prayers one can really achieve impossible possible. There is a verse in Atharva Veda, Swasti Gobhyo Jagate Purushebhyaha. May all people animals and birds be blessed with peace and prosperity. That's the prayer. Vedic religion is based on the doctrine of utilitarianism. It stands on the pillars of philanthropy and benevolence, purity and piety, charity and chastity, truth and beauty. Vedas have cosmopolitan character. They are free from local, provincial and continental color. They belong to and pertain to the whole cosmos. That's why Vedanta is so appealing to all the people all over the world. Vedic religion admonishes man to be good to all and do good to all people, birds and animals. After all, what is truth? Practically, truth is a process which does good to all. A theory or a process which cannot render good to all is not truth at all. Just as rays of the sun provide light and strength to all, prince or pauper, elephant or an ant, hawk or sparrow, so does true religion, enunciated by Vedas, render good to all. Swami Vivekananda has set the ideal for the mankind, that is Atmano Mokshartham Jagadhitaya. For realizing Atman, serve the humanity in whom God dwells. Serve the humanity. Wherever you are, have that attitude of serving, sharing, giving your love. It elevates and exalts a person. Prayer without purity is as useless as body without soul. Not only purity of body, but that of mind is required. He who is pure and pious in thoughts, words and deeds can alone tread on path of spiritualism. Those who are pure within and without hold the passport to enter the kingdom of God. Life is made of actions which originate from thoughts. If thoughts are under man's control, he can conquer the whole world. If thoughts are out of his control, he can be conquered even by his smallest foe. Just as poisonous seed produces poisonous fruit, while good seed breeds flavorous fruits, so do pure and pious thoughts result in noble actions which make life grand and glorious. Vedas emphasize upon piety and purity. Hence, one should pray to provide for, he should pray to God not for personal power, position and prestige, but he should pray to God for purity and piety. In Yajurveda, there is a verse which says, Jata Vedaha Punihi Ma. May the omniscient Lord make me pure and pious. So how all these words are very, very significant. That's the beauty of these scriptures. They are full of spiritual power. They are mantras. They are the seeds. All these words must be taken up, cultured properly in the field of our mind. So, how much care and attention must be given for purification of the mind? There is really a very important and essential thing required to be done. It is the mind that is causing all problems and difficult situations in the world. So, they always run parallel, good and bad. They always run parallel. But then one should be wise to choose what is good, and one should be able to practice it, whatever he considers good, and should not take rest till he realizes the truth. So, practicality is very essential. Be practical. Sri Ramakrishna was very emphatic in his teachings that spirituality means practical life. So, precept and practice must go together. Always you feel that you are ever pure and perfect, you are divine. That feeling itself will keep you in high level of thinking. Then that attitude itself will make you act in a proper way, and you will be able to conduct your life according to dharma. That is, you have to follow certain code of conduct, certain rules, so that you may not go astray. And if you follow the rules and code of conduct properly, you will feel that this world is really a very happy world. Because you are able to come into this world, you are able to work out your realization of the truth. And it's only here that opportunity is given. And so, contemplating on the teachings of the spiritual masters, understanding the true significance of their statements, one should try to be more and more loving and sharing with others, trying to have the divine qualities. By that way, you will be certainly enjoying peace and happiness in this world, and you are not bothered whether you are being born again or not, because you have had the glimpse of the reality, and in order to achieve the highest goal, you won't mind taking even again births after births in order to practice spirituality and realize the reality. So, Sri Ramakrishna says in his Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna teaches us that what exactly the world means. Property, desire and gold. He says lust and gold, passion and gold. These three constitute the world. So people got stuck up in any one of these, and they lose the spiritual glory, and they keep on suffering and suffering, and they have to pass through lots of pains and grievances. So, take up spirituality in a proper way, Practice it in your own humble way. Don't divert your attention to any other things. Your primary attention should be how you can develop your spiritual dimension. So that is why we have come into this world. The purpose of human life is to realize God. Sri Ramakrishna has said that. And he has set his own life as a model for us. Even though we are living in the world, yet we should not lose sight of God. Think of God all the time. In that process, you will be honest and sincere in your activities. There won't be any hypocrisy. And slowly but surely you will realize the inner nature. I am that Supreme Brahman. Aham Brahmasmi. See, the ray may be very thin, almost invisible, but that ray is part and parcel of the sun. It has no existence without sun. So sun is there, rays are always there. When the rays are there, sun must be there. They are inseparable, they are always there. As long as sun is there, sun's rays are there. Some rays are visible, some rays are not visible. But every ray has got the potency of the sun. In the same way, though we are all so many beings, so many people here, we all like rays of the sun. God is the sun. We are all the rays. There is no separation at all. We are inseparably connected to God. So, each ray is part of the sun, God Himself. We are all the infinite beings are the infinite forms of God Himself. So that concept you have to contemplate and try to realize it. Then you will see how joyful you will be. And you will be able to share that joy with others also. With these words, I conclude my talk. Thank you very much. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. May the Lord protect us. May He nourish us. May our knowledge be enlightened and fruitful. May we not hate each other. Peace, peace. Peace be unto all.